It is January 1st, 2018. I'm Glenn Rubenstein here with Raj Giri. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Tonight we're talking Monday Night Raw, the first Raw of 2018. 4 weeks till the Royal Rumble, 3 weeks till Raw 25. Raj, Happy New Year. Great to see you. Thanks to everyone for joining us tonight. How's it going, man?
Good, man. Happy New Year to you too, and to everyone out there listening.
Yeah, hard to believe we're living in the future.
Yeah, right.
First Raw of the year. So now, I know last week the word was, they did the tag team title change for the Christmas Raw, do something special. Do you feel like their attitude tonight was it's a new year, we're going to kick it off with a bang? Or do you feel this was sort of that, there's ball games going, fewer people are watching, we're just going to kind of muscle through and then really rev it up next week? What did you think the attitude was going into this tonight?
Yeah, I just think there's still a lot of time until the Rumble, so you don't want to do too much. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of, I thought it was fine. But yeah, there's nothing groundbreaking or anything major. If you miss tonight's show, you don't have to watch it to get caught up,
Well, they built so many things tonight, like it was a big special episode of Raw. I think that's where, I'm not saying I felt cheated by it, but that's where I think I felt disappointed by the way that it played out.
Yeah. I mean, well, one of the title matches, obviously, Enzo got the flu, so he wasn't able to make it tonight. So, that was out the window. Roman and I guess we'll get to it in a little bit, but Roman and Mojo, that one surprised me a little bit. Not that Reigns didn't lose the title. I was actually expecting him to lose by count out and then they do another stip,
Sure.
But yeah, it just seemed like they kind of blew that feud off already. It seemed way too early.
And the club reuniting for a match against the Miz, Taraj, and Elias.
Yeah, and that kind of did nothing.
Yeah, it was just kind of a weird week. So let's go segment by segment, break it down, and talk about what happened. So we started with that title change from last week, showing us the recap of Jason Jordan, Seth Rollins winning the tag team titles, and that led to an in-ring segment where we had the Bar facing off with Rollins and Jordan. Kurt Angle was there, and it devolved into a match versus Cesaro and Jason Jordan. So, hey, the great news is now with this new tag team, we can just do-si-do for a few more weeks and go Seth versus Sheamus, then Jordan versus Sheamus, then Seth versus Cesaro. Next thing you know, it's a rematch at the Royal Rumble.
Yep, pretty much. That's where we're headed. Again, this match, I thought there's just been so many long matches on Raw lately, and when you have a good storyline and good build, and then you build to this long match, I think that's great. But when you just constantly long matches where fans were chanting boring in this match, and it was a good match, I thought the guys worked hard. I thought their stuff was really good, but people, I think I just think they're too long, and especially in matches like Apollo Crews versus Bray Wyatt, where it's so obvious who's going to win. That doesn't need to go 2 or 3 segments. That could easily be done in just one.
Yeah, especially last week, man. We talked about this a bit on Wednesday's podcast, but the way they opened the Christmas Raw with that, half an hour match with Cena and Elias last week, and then to have a very long match opening tonight, I just feel sometimes it takes the legs out from under the show before it even gets up and running. Yeah,
especially when it's guys that people don't see as main eventers,
Yeah.
So you're opening the show with a long match between, a couple guys that are kind of, towards the, mid card up, I mean, honestly, that's kind of where they're really at. It just kind of drags when you don't really care who wins and when it doesn't matter who wins anyway, and then you have a long match on top of that.
Well, and on top of that, so tell me what your take on this is and what you've heard, because I've been seeing online the speculation now that Jordan's got the belt on him that they are not doing the heel turn.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah, he's gonna be mentored by Seth Rollins for a little while.
Yeah, they need a baby face, so they put the brakes on that, is what it seems like. So,
and is the rumor true that it could have been Finn had it not been Jordan in this spot?
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's not true.
Yeah.
It was always, once it happened, it was always Jordan. I think what happened, this was one of those cases where people took something like that Dave Meltzer mentioned, like off the cuff. I think he was saying, looking at the lay of the land on Raw, The only other person that would have made sense was Finn Balor, but it wasn't that Finn Balor was actually considered.
Gotcha. God, isn't it amazing? Just Meltzer has an idea, and that the way the sites pick it up and spread it these days.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of power.
It's crazy, man. So we went from that first match. Jason Jordan did win that match against Cesaro, and came out of that with build up for the night's match with Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe. They talked about, the stipulation that Reigns couldn't maintain or retain rather with the DQ, and got a promo from Sasha Banks from the Royal Rumble. Oh, it was announced in that opening segment, 30 women in the Women's Rumble.
30 women. So there's 2 hours of the show is right there is the 2 Royal Rumble matches plus.
But here's the crazier part. Take out the champions, you barely got half of those 30 as women on the main roster.
Yeah, so I guess they'll be pulling in a lot of people from NXT. Yeah, and I'm guessing a couple of surprises, a couple of veterans. So
perhaps Stephanie McMahon, as many people were speculating on Twitter tonight.
I don't see that.
No, I think
who knows?
Yeah. Some people are speculating Blue Pants because she just did that little thing for Xavier Woods' promo videos for the U.S. tournament on SmackDown. People are saying maybe she could come back. Although that's kind of obscure. I mean, Blue Pants is that's deep NXT at this point.
Well, I think a lot of the people in NXT, outside of maybe a Peyton Royce or Ember Moon, I don't know how many would get a good reaction. So you're probably going to, get some quiet reactions for a lot of these people.
Yeah, I think they'll have back more of the legacy women just because that people have the familiarity. It'll be special. And I think they can even say, like, hey, this is a way to include all of these women who were a part of building this legacy that is built up to this.
Yeah, we'll have to see a lot of these women that have families and kids and,
it's the Rumble, man.
yeah, we'll see. Lita wrestled a match maybe like a year ago, I think, and Trish hasn't wrestled in forever. And I know those are like the most obvious choices when you're thinking of, surprises in the Rumble. I don't know. I just don't think it just seems like kind of a mistake to me. To do
30, I thought 30 was, we speculated 20 tops.
Yeah, because the problem is they keep throwing all these women in these multi-person matches. There's not enough people that feel like superstars. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's why I think it'll be
you got
legacy.
Yeah, so it's a lot of filler.
I remember with those legacy returns, they don't even have to take a bump to go over that rope. I mean, they just have to make the entrance, go in there, do something, and then sail over. Land on the feet.
Yeah,
I'm excited though, man. Between that.
Yeah, I am too. I'm looking forward to it. I just think 20 just seemed like the right number. I think 30 just seems
excessive.
Yeah,
but they want to say they're on equal footing with the men. I get it.
Yeah, but you got 18. Is it 18 women on the main roster?
Something like that.
So you take out the champs, and it's like 16. So you still have slots for surprises and stuff. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, they with these firsts, they put a lot of effort into it. Hopefully, it's not like Money in the Bank. James Ellsworth doesn't come out and somehow win the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think they learned their lesson from the last time. So
do you think the WWE has ever really had a long-term consequence? Like, oh, hey, remember when we did this one time? That's why we can never do this again.
Right.
They have such high turnover with the writers. I don't think Vince remembers.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, man. So okay, so this was unexpected tonight, and this was unexpected for a few reasons. Bray Wyatt versus Apollo Crews. This was not a squash match. Apollo
really should have been.
I thought it was. And when it started going a little longer, I was like, who is this a squash match in favor of? Because it was pretty balanced up until the end. Titus Worldwide. I mean, I joked on Twitter, but I was like, oh, maybe this is where I had my highest hope for tonight's Raw. Because it was like, oh my God, they're going to do a Titus Worldwide story, and Apollo is going to do this with Bray. Bray's done with Matt Hardy. Maybe something's going on here, but no. Apollo gets his sister Abigail'd, and then boom, we've got Matt and Bray facing off, further continuing their rivalry. Are you still on board with this?
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't been at all. I've been pushing for them to bring this broken gimmick back, but I was always worried that they Vincify it and then it might suck. And I think fans have, they kind of have blinders on sometimes with stuff like that they really liked, and I think because you hear like when they show Matt Hardy, right?
Yeah.
It gets that pop, and it gets a big pop when he's first on. By the time he's done with this promo, it's just kind of like confusion, maybe some delete chants, but mostly just kind of confusion, being like, okay, that sucked this week. Maybe next week it'll be better. But yeah, I don't know. First of all, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think this match should have went 2 segments. When it's obvious who's going to win, it's Wyatt should win. He's involved in the feud right now. Apollo's not doing anything. So it should have just went. These long matches, when you don't need them, just makes the show feel really long, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a poor choice to go with these segments kicking off the show. And again, I know we're going to talk about this later. Justin and I talked about this last Wednesday when we were trying to talk about Wrestler of the Year. The WWE does not work on a calendar year. I mean, they have their seasons and they have their swings. And so it's January 1st, but to Vince McMahon, so what? It's January 1st. The Rumble is the road to WrestleMania. We'll build that up so many weeks in advance.
WrestleMania is kind of the end of the year.
Yeah, WrestleMania and SummerSlam, I think, are the two. Yeah. In fact, that's why we were having trouble saying who had the best year, because in a calendar year, it's actually really tough to remain a priority in the WWE for a complete calendar year and have. So, I mean, in fact, we'll talk about this more later, but I mean, aside from Braun Strowman, we're having trouble thinking about someone that had a very consistent year-long presence as a creative focus for the WWE.
I mean, Roman did.
Well, yeah. That's sort of perennial at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Roman's at that point where even if he did have the best year, he wouldn't get voted for it. You know what I mean?
Well, because you feel like in the WWE's mind, every year is the year of Roman Reigns. Yeah. 2018, year of Roman Reigns. This is his year.
But who else do you really go with?
I know. See,
no one's really over at that level.
Yeah. I like when they change it up. Personally, I think that's
but you need people to go with.
People want to tune in. They want a superstar. They want a personality they can really feel the company is built around, because that is proven to work best for the way that they've done things. So Enzo Amore is out and hospitalized, which means that the storyline continues with him and Nia Jax. Nia leaving the building. I hope she got permission first to go to the hospital and bring Enzo soup.
Yep. I like that they played into it a little. So Enzo's got the flu. Braun Strowman had the flu. He missed the last few shows of the year, the last few live events. And yeah, Enzo, man, is bad. And this is a bad flu. This right now, like, people in our house have been sick. I know so many people right now that are just sick or have been sick. Stuff is just going around.
Get your flu shot, everybody. It's not too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nia bounced out of there tonight. Then we had Alexa Bliss versus Asuka. And I thought this match had a very interesting rhythm, non-title match, where at first Asuka was dominant, but then they really gave Alexa some offense to balance it out before she lost.
They gave her a lot of offense.
Yeah.
I was almost wondering if they're going to have Alexa beat Asuka, which makes no sense at all. But just to get rid of the streak so that it doesn't make Asuka in the Royal Rumble so obvious. I don't know.
Someone's going to kneecap her on the way to the ring or backstage.
Well, she cut a promo over the weekend and made it sound like if she doesn't win the Rumble, then her streak is over. No, which normally that doesn't make sense. But
let us SmackDown.
That was her promo.
Build it. I don't know who from SmackDown wins. Becky versus Charlotte would be a great match, but it makes no sense storyline wise.
I almost think it should be someone that's not Asuka. Ronda Rousey. She's filming that movie. I think if Ronda Rousey were to be in it, you'd want to advertise that ahead of time, just because you'd get a ton of eyeballs on it. Obviously, as a surprise, it'd be huge. But she's filming this movie through February, and they're going to be filming in Bogota. I don't know if that started yet, but it's been filming in Atlanta, and they're going to do some in Bogota. What's that?
Colombia, Colombia.
Bogota, yeah,
Oh,
Colombia.
gotcha.
Yeah. What did I say? Bogota? Bogota.
I was like, at first I was like, where's Bogota? I know, it's cool. I think I only remember that because isn't it like the capital of Colombia or something?
Someone's pointing out that Asuka lost a battle royal in NXT. She was eliminated
Yeah.
by Eva Marie. But yeah.
They all ganged up on it. Like everyone, it was like 6 women.
Right, but that didn't count as a loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Royal Rumble is kind of silly to count that.
Yeah. Well, real quick, guys. Matt Morgan, he had to watch his son tonight. His wife is out of town for some business, so should be back next week.
Cool. But yeah, I thought this match was definitely good for making both of them look strong. Alexa took a while to get going, but non-title match, it means nothing. Streak continues.
Another long match. Again, really, the winner was pretty obvious, right?
But don't you feel with some of these matches now? Sometimes, granted, like Joe and Roman, it's like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to go out there and really put on the showcase and tell the story. Some of these other matches, when they go along, feel like the producers go, just fill a half an hour. Just go out there and just stretch it out.
That's what these Raws feel like now, because they have the 3 hours and it's like they don't know what to fill it with. They're not coming up with new stuff for like guys that are underused, because they could be doing other programs with, not having to cram all the cruiserweights together all the time and doing more stuff with the women, more individual feuds. But they got their formula and they feel like to stretch out the 3 hours, we just have a ton of long matches.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, how many matches do you think like Raw should be? Because I think about this. If they're going a rule of like 20 minutes, half an hour each, plus some other stuff, we're talking like 6 matches in an evening. I feel like 10 in my mind is the ideal number, just to get everyone in.
Yeah. You know what? I think honestly, if you want the show feeling like it's moving fast, I think you should only have the main event and maybe one other match go more than one segment.
Yeah.
And then that's what they used to do back in the day, like in the Attitude Era. Matches never went through a commercial break, and so it just kept you. You saw it, and then you wanted to stick around to see what was up next. You put a bunch of people on the show, and they got way more creative people now than they did back then.
Yeah,
but they don't do anything with them,
and it keeps the crowd hot. I mean, during that Jason Jordan Cesaro match, when the crowd's chanting Rusev Day, and Rusev, and even on Raw, you got a problem when that's your first match of the night,
right?
So I gotta call this out. Renee Young corpsing a little bit there in that interview with Samoa Joe, talking about how Dean Ambrose is at home living off his wife's paycheck.
I love that. I love this stuff with Renee and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, that promo is just awesome.
He's great.
He just comes across as so believable, which a lot of guys don't. And he believe everything he's saying. You don't really feel like he's reading a script, even though, it is scripted for the most part.
Yeah.
Renee Young and Renee Young she's Jack will be pointing out, she's amazing. The way she plays off of him, she was great.
She's underutilized, man. I mean, she was great at talking smack, unfiltered. I have to say, I miss having Unfiltered on the network. She's a good host. I think that she's got a lot of talent. She's got her own podcast that she has with a friend of hers, Regular Girls. I feel like even though she gets so much airtime, I feel like she's underutilized by the WWE.
Yeah, I agree with that. She's really talented, like far and beyond most of the other people on there, the other backstage interviewers and stuff.
I'm sure she'll get something new. We got that new WWE show tonight. We had that last one they tried out with Corey Graves. It seems like right now they're trying to do the cheapest original programming possible. So I'm sure there will be something new that is Renee Young, just talk to somebody and film it with your phone.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? But hey, man, let's thank the sponsor of this episode, which is SeatGeek. So you guys know buying tickets to sports and concerts can be complicated and confusing, but there's a better way to buy, and that's with SeatGeek. It's the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every type of live event, whether you want concerts, sporting events, wrestling, the theater. When you're searching for a last-minute deal, planning a night out, or you need to find the perfect gift, SeatGeek helps you find the best seats at the best prices, and it's fully guaranteed. There's nothing quite like seeing your favorite team or musician or wrestler in person, and SeatGeek will get you closer to the action for a great value. You've heard me talk about this before. I have the SeatGeek app on my phone, and it's by far the easiest way I found to shop for tickets. Raj used it to go see Lady Gaga a few weeks ago.
It was easy. It was just super simple to use, and I plan on using it every time I have to get tickets for something. So
it's great. It's great, man.
I'm hooked on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I used it for Hamilton tickets, and I'm telling you, I love that it could be anywhere, and with just a few taps, I can instantly find seats. It was funny when I was searching for Hamilton. What I love about it is it pulls in the prices from these other sites. It compares. It tells you that you're getting a good deal, where you're getting the best price. Saves you this time and money by searching multiple ticket sites to compare your prices to find amazing deals, get you the most bang for your buck. It creates every ticket based on the value to help you immediately identify the best seats to fit your budget, and every purchase is fully guaranteed. So important. So you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Make SeatGeek your go-to app for finding the best deals on every type of ticket, from sports to concerts, wrestling, comedy, theater, and more. And best of all, our listeners can get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. That's right, save $20 when you download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code INC today. That's promo code INC for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. I'm using it to go see a SmackDown house show in February. Very excited about that because, with wrestling, man, or with any event, for me, I'm one of those guys, location is so important. You've heard me talk about it before. I love to be on the ramp, especially for house shows. It's so much fun, the energy. And with SeatGeek, I can see exactly where my seats are going to be and know that I'm getting the best value for my money. SeatGeek, download it, save $20 with our code INC. And we thank them for sponsoring the Wrestling Inc. podcast.
Absolutely. Definitely check it out.
So Braun Strowman versus Rhino tonight.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was one segment. It didn't stretch out over a commercial. It was effective. The crowd was hottest for this more than anything on the show, I felt like, except for maybe the end of the Roman Reigns Samoa Joe match.
Well, Braun's got it, man. He's got that Goldberg energy where people want to see the hits. They want to see that, just him come out, do it when they yell like again. I mean, when's the last time you saw that on the main roster when someone's just so stoked just to see someone come in there and be that dominant?
Yeah, it's been a while where people are legitimately excited to see him. And, he pulls it off. I thought he was great. I love this whole thing. And
yeah,
him power slamming Heath and Rhino over and over. It was great. I doubt he's completely cured of the flu already. So, he's doing all of that. Well, he's pretty sick. So kudos to him.
Well, Rhino's immune to everything, and Heath Slater with his multiple children, must be living in Disease City between cold and flu season. So, those guys are tough enough. But, it's funny that post-match dominance. For a second, I asked my wife, I'm like, did the stream skip and did this go back? Because that went on so long. Continuing to beat them down after. I legitimately thought I was in a time loop. I
wonder how much of that was improv. Like he just decided to just go and do it again because the crowd was going crazy for it.
And that's the thing, man. It's like you don't get that with Brock Lesnar. They're not like, come on, Brock, give us another F5. You don't see Brock like Braun very clearly telegraphs that he's into what the crowd's doing. Remember at Survivor Series, was it, or one of those matches where he even was pumping up the crowd doing the come on, do it again. I like that. I like that he plays off of that in a way most superstars don't. Yeah,
he gets it. I mean, he's on our Wrestling Inc. on our fan voting on the site, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but he won Breakout Star of the Year, and that's one that I could not disagree with at all. There were quite a few I disagreed with, but that one didn't disagree with it at all.
So we got a lot of hype tonight for the Raw 25th anniversary episode, which is coming up in 3 weeks. That's going to be the go-home show for the Royal Rumble, taking place at two venues. Justin LaBar is going to be there in person. He predicts that night will set up the Undertaker coming back for one more match.
Yeah.
It's seeming more plausible now.
It's looking like it, except it's looking like Cena.
Yeah.
That's the speculation. Cena's going to have a big match. That was in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He's not wrestling AJ. And he doesn't, Dave Meltzer wrote, he wasn't told who Cena will be facing, just that it's a really big match and it's bigger than AJ. So, that leaves only a few names, and Undertaker makes the most sense to me. The thing that didn't make sense to me with Braun Strowman is you don't want Braun losing to Taker. I don't think. And I don't think you want Taker losing again after losing last year to Roman. So with Cena, you could have him beat Cena. Doesn't hurt Cena at all. Cena's, not going to be around much this year anyway. So it makes sense if Taker's doing one more match.
Who was the last guy to intentionally go out on top, where it didn't just turn out to be their last match, but intentionally won his final match?
Trish did. I think she retired as the champion. But that's going way back.
Yeah. This is breaking with decades of tradition.
Yeah, and who knows if this will be Undertaker's last match?
Jesus.
So, I mean, getting paid millions of dollars for one night a year.
I mean, with Cena,
and a couple of other appearances, but
with Cena, it'll be a very safe, very steadily paced match. But I don't think it'll be. This is going to be a 5-star match.
No, and it should. It doesn't need to be.
Do you think that was a problem with Reigns, that they tried to have too much of a real match?
I thought it went a little too long, but I thought that match was okay. Where Undertaker is right now, he can't do too much.
I know.
So
it was a bit comfortable to watch.
Yeah. I don't know. I think they're just big enough stars that they don't have to do too much. It's like Rock versus Hogan. That match was fantastic, and they didn't do anything. They just had that crowd in the palm of their hands. The only thing with this match, and we'll just have to see how they start the build, but it just feels like it's past. Like Cena versus Taker, like it would have been gigantic a couple years ago, but it just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that iconic match like it should, and like in years prior where it was discussed, it just seemed like that was a mega match.
It wouldn't sell as many tickets for the casuals, but right now I could see them doing Taker versus Kane and going out that way. But that's not big. That's more of a fan service match.
I don't know. Would fans want to see that over Taker versus Cena?
Well, it's kind of a nice like kayfabe mythology ending to it, right? I mean, Taker versus Cena, you got to build, you got to tell a story. But if you just say like Taker versus Kane, it's got already this complex history.
Yeah, I think if you did that, that would have. I don't know. That's not a WrestleMania match to me.
In a casket match.
They've wrestled each other at WrestleMania, what, 3 times? I think
it's been it's not nothing new. But I think
at least twice. I'm forgetting if it's twice or 3.
Yeah, and Cena announced that he's going to be in the Rumble. Why? I mean, it's a name, but
you need to have big names in there.
No, it just seems kind of. I don't know. I mean, okay, so I guess here we are 4 weeks out. Who do you predict is going to win the Royal Rumble on the men's side?
Oh man, the fact that they announced the Fastlane main event already, which just boggles my mind, and Nakamura, Orton,
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn.
Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and AJ Styles is defending. Yeah. Obviously, that plan could change, but the fact that they leaked it, I'm guessing, is that's their working direction. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put anything at all. So it tells you, because I was thinking Nakamura, and that sets up the SmackDown main event. So, gosh, maybe Roman, since he is facing Brock. I mean, who else would it be?
I don't know. Last year, Randy Orton was kind of a controversial win.
Yeah. And he got the world title match at Mania. So who?
And they projected stuff onto the ring during that match.
He had maggots, the first ever maggots in a ring match. But I mean, who's the SmackDown? There's no obvious match on the SmackDown side, and the fact that they're doing that 5-way, I guess the winner of that faces the Royal Rumble winner. So I'm still thinking it's the Royal Rumbles. It's either Reigns or, gosh, I just don't know who would be on the SmackDown side that's not in that Fastlane main event already.
Jinder Mahal, man, he's making his comeback in Mania.
I like that they're moving him to the U.S. title picture. I think that's where he belongs. I think it's the right move. He'll get better working there. So yeah.
Actually, if the trajectory continues, and I know this would be a little weird, but if they really want to tap into something, Rusev. I know it's against the trajectory he's on being in a tag team, but look, they didn't make that. We talked about this on Wednesday. We thought they should have called an audible, and when they heard that crowd response, had them become the #1 contenders rather than Gable and Benjamin, because the SmackDown crowd was so hot for Rusev in particular. I could almost see him if this build continues from the fans. I think he's certainly in the running.
Yeah, so it's all about the timing, right? So if you got someone getting over like a Damien Sandow, then it doesn't matter because you don't have a long-term picture for him. You know, he's going to be a comedy guy. He's over, but you know that once they split, there's not much longevity in it for him. Now Rusev, obviously, he's got the size. He's great in the ring, charisma. So if you want to do a big singles push and see if you see him as a top guy. Then you want to make sure that you don't pull the trigger too quickly. And but you know what? I think him winning at the Royal Rumble would be awesome. I think he's that gives it enough time for him to, you know, probably peak with popularity wise. And hey Chris, how's it going?
It's going well.
Hey, man.
We're already going. Sorry,
we've got surprise guests. You never know who's going to drop by the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Chris Featherstone joining us. So, Chris, Rusev wins the Rumble. What do you think? Does that do anything for you?
No. I think you should make it. You should make it organic. I think you don't want to make it so contrived. I think the Rusev Day is going very well. And I think that you should do a baby. I think Aiden English should turn on Rusev, or they should have some dissension going on. Just kind of make it organic. Don't rush it. Let it go. And I think that you should kind of do the babyface push. Maybe Rusev and English at Mania, perhaps, because I don't see much of a big prominent spot for Rusev. Make it. You know, give it some time. Let it be organic. Don't rush it.
I think if you put him in a feud with English, though, it might kind of kill his steam. And I agree with that. Actually, that's exactly what I was saying before you came on. Is timing, and you don't want to rush these things, especially when if it's someone that you see as a real main event single star, as opposed to a guy that's an over comedy act. But I think if Rusev is someone you want to pull the trigger on, I mean, it would get a huge reaction if he won the Rumble. And we were saying the other obvious choice is Reigns. I don't know. Who would you pick to win the Rumble right now at this stage?
Nakamura, hands down.
But Nakamura is in the main event of Fastlane.
That's right. Well, I Dave Meltzer was on my show last Tuesday, and we were talking about this subject. And basically, it's Fastlane's in Columbus. I'll be there. And, you know, those cards are always subject to change. You know what I mean? And even if Nakamura wins the Royal Rumble, a four-way is just as fine. You know, if you remove one person from the five-way, it won't affect the match. It's just going to be a filler match anyways.
No, for sure. But the fact that they released that already would seem to suggest that that's the working direction. And they already know who's going to win the Rumble. So I don't see them changing it on the fly to Nakamura because Nakamura was my choice that a couple of weeks ago. That was my prediction.
But do you think the promotion's a red herring though? Do you think it could be that just to kind of elicit these type of reaction or this type of conversation?
Do they care enough about the SmackDown side to do that? I can tell you this: in the past,
they've been doing so good with Reigns, though. He's gotten more babyface reaction now the past couple of months, really the past few weeks, more than he has in years. You know, and
but don't you think that'd be flushing it down the toilet by having him win the Rumble?
I agree. Yes, in Philly, right. In Philly was the I would say if there's anything that was the single most pivotal moment to get him in that situation that he was buried in for a long time, it was Philly. Yeah. So do you do the same thing in Philly? I don't think maybe you do that.
I think it's too much of like you said, he's been getting really good reactions, and it would just flush it away.
Sure would, yeah.
So that's why I think it's got to be a SmackDown person that wins it. But then there's no if that Fastlane main event is what it is, then there's no obvious guy other than like what he was saying with Rusev as a surprise. And last year you had Orton, which was a surprise. Orton versus Wyatt at Mania. Isn't that crazy to think that was the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania?
I was there, and the theatrics live was I hope it
was better than on TV.
It was better. It was better because I watched it. I watched it on the network after being there live, and better live than it was on the network. It was just it looked terrible on network. On live, it was the Orlando feel. It was dark. It was kind of fun, but just watching it on the network, it was like, oh man, I can see why people were complaining about this.
Well, plus it had nothing to do with the ending. So you had Bray Wyatt projecting maggots, and then he still lost. It just kind of defeated the whole purpose.
Yeah, I agree.
Man. I think SmackDown needs to coalesce around their top guys right now. I mean, and I think with Rusev, they need to put him at the top. I mean, you can't have the U.S. title holder be a Baron Corbin right now. I feel like SmackDown needs to put its stars in top positions with the belts and then build top-level feuds. They tried the experiment for a very long time with Jinder, but I think you need the most over guys right now to get some heat back in that brand and get people feeling like it has momentum again.
It could be one of the reasons why Rusev is not in the U.S. title tournament. So could be.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't become the number one contenders for the tag team titles.
Right.
They've got them. I mean, what are they going to do? Put them in a feud with the Bludgeon Brothers? I mean,
yeah. I mean, the obvious thing would be them feuding with the Usos. But if Rusev is getting super over as a babyface, as singles, then Aiden English, they're a great act together. But he brings them down by being in a tag team with him.
No, but he could become his valet. He could. Still,
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Like you have him as his second, and
Yeah.
We'll see. I like that choice, actually. I think you can make a new star with Rusev. It's a little out of left field. But, to Chris's point, are you pulling the trigger too early, or fans just kind of crap on it? And
SmackDown from each week to week is, I mean, Rusev is one of the few high points on that show.
That's true.
Not a lot of superstars.
I would make it organic, though. I would start off with having a feud between him and Aiden English. I think Rusev is so over now that even if it was like a Mania match between him and English, he would still get Rusev Day chance. So I don't think it will hurt him as a babyface.
That screams kickoff show,
Yeah,
it does. It does. But where else do you put him, though? I mean, he'll be in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal if he's not.
Right? Yeah,
that would be his other choice. So.
Yeah, but I mean, even at Mania, man, I could see it. I could see Rusev coming out, Aiden doing a lavish thing with the singing and a tux, some fancy outfit. I think it'll be a throwback to an old school manager having him come out and do that as a valet. I don't know.
But you want to keep the heat. You want to keep the heat on Aiden English, though. I mean, like he's being cheered by proxy, right? Because of Rusev. If he was a standalone gimmick. Yeah, but if he was a standalone gimmick, as we saw before he was with Rusev, he'd get jeered, and he'll most likely do that if he's away from Rusev.
Oh no, I think he stays with Rusev as his manager. I mean, I think Aiden, which is unfortunate. Aiden is a very good wrestler. I think he's got an amazing physique and a good look. But the singing thing, man. I mean, look at the trajectory of him on SmackDown and Elias on Raw. Elias is over with the crowd. Aiden was not until he paired up with Rusev.
Well, there's a shakeup that probably will happen after Mania. Why don't you have Elias and Aiden English team together?
Just get every
their styles are a little different.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Get R-Truth in there, and we'll just have the Rock and Wrestling super group.
There you go.
Yeah. So back to Raw, though. We got, talk about a segue there. Okay, so the Intercontinental title match tonight, Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns. Chris, how did you think this was going to turn out versus how it turned out?
I thought both was fantastic. I think the match was really good. I think they put a lot of time in the match, which worked very well. I was expecting it to be a good match. I mean, man, people crap on Roman Reigns. It just seems like they try to find reasons why, and the reasons why doesn't make sense. I mean, he's a solid worker. He's been a solid worker for a long time, and you can't, the he can't wrestle, excuse has been out the door. Oh yeah, for a while now. So Samoa's always been a solid worker. Yeah, exactly. And so I knew. I mean, on paper, it seemed like it would be a good, solid match. It exceeded my expectations, and I actually expected pretty high on that match. It was fantastic.
What did you think the outcome was going to be, though? Because with the stipulation, it seemed like, and if Roman's going against Brock and Mania, granted, we've got some time still, but I think the expectation is he's not going to go into Mania as the Intercontinental Champion. Samoa Joe's got this momentum right now. I think a lot of people thought tonight might have been the night.
I think it would have been a good way to have him drop the title, because I think it would have still protected Reigns if he dropped it via disqualification. If he would have had like an aggressive side, continued his aggressive side this week like he did last week, and losing it by DQ would have still protected Reigns as a character. So I think in that vein, it would have been a good way to drop it. But I mean, they've another thing people don't realize is that Reigns, I think a few months ago, I did like a statistic, and he lost 1 out of every 3 matches. People always say shove Roman Reigns down your throat, but statistically, no, they don't. And so I think with Reigns, if you keep him Intercontinental Champion right now, where does that really lead to? And I think Samoa Joe is the best person to kind of go into Royal Rumble as Intercontinental Champion, because we know where Roman Reigns is going to lead to. And so it just kind of it is a bit murky when you think about the Intercontinental title scene right now. Miz is coming back next week, so do you put the belt back on him, which seems like it may be backtracking the momentum of the title.
So I agree. Like I thought that Samoa Joe was going to win tonight by count out. And then that's, because the stip was the DQ. So there's a way to give Samoa Joe the win, not change the title. It keeps the feud going. Yeah. It seemed early to be doing the blow off for this feud. Because they did, unless they got something new for Roman right now. And you did mention the Miz coming back next week. And the Miz has been great. So
Miz is fantastic.
But I think if you're getting Roman ready for Mania, you don't have him lose to the Miz. Now, granted, with Jericho last year when Roman lost the U.S. title to, how did he lose it? Wasn't like in a 3-way, or it was like a DQ or something.
Cost it. I think Kevin Owens interfered, maybe.
How did he lose the U.S. title?
Yeah,
to, Jericho. Yeah, I think it was like no DQ, and Owens it was just like blatant. Him and Owens was just like beating up Reigns.
And Owens had the main title. Jericho had the U.S. title.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, it just seemed like it was too early to blow this off. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe they'll do a champion versus champion at Mania. Do like old WrestleMania 6 style, where you had Hogan and Warrior, where Hogan was the world champ and Warrior was Intercontinental champ.
That's just every Smark's nightmare is just going to be the end of Mania, Roman holding all the belts. Like literally. They will find a way to get every belt onto him.
I'm sure there's plenty memes like that, so we don't want to.
One-man tag team.
There are those with him winning the Women's Royal Rumble. Have you seen that with him in the wig?
Yeah. I've heard of the champion versus champion idea over the past couple of weeks, but you don't want to do that though. I mean, you want to have that Intercontinental title. I think with Reigns doing the open challenges and having really solid matches, I think it raises the momentum of the title. And you just don't want to just blow the momentum of the Intercontinental Championship off by just having him, defend it at Mania against Lesnar. I mean, granted, it would add a layer to their match as opposed to, was it 31 that they went against each other? But I mean, Brock Lesnar as an Intercontinental Champion? No, that's not cool.
Yeah. Last year, wasn't it the Intercontinental title? Wasn't that a pre-show match? It was Dean Ambrose and Baron Corbin, or was that the U.S. title?
Yeah, it was Intercontinental. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man. So unexpected moments tonight after Roman won that. We had a cruiserweight match. Enzo, as we mentioned, out 6 and no title defense against Cedric Alexander tonight. So we had Drew Gulak and Arya Daivari come out. Drew read a statement from Enzo, which was fantastic.
This is getting a little long in the tooth. They've been doing this for a while now.
It's WWE, man. They run it into the ground and then run it further into the ground and then find a new subterranean level to go down to. Yeah. So Cedric Alexander's calls to the back to get a tag team partner. Who comes out? Goldust. Now, he has done a lot of DDP yoga, but I do not think he is at 205 pounds. Teamed with Cedric Alexander tonight versus Drew Gulak and Arya Daivari. They picked up the win. Well, this was certainly unexpected, but what do you think of this, Chris?
When I saw Goldust come out, I was like, okay. So the first thing I thought about was Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, how they are adding them to the tour. And, you know, I suppose maybe Goldust kind of does an angle like Matt Hardy did back in the day when he was trying to cut weight to become, you know, cruiserweight champion.
Sure. Hey.
And, you know, why not? I mean, it'd be a good way to, you know, kind of implement Goldust. He's doing a bunch of face heel things, and R-Truth on Twitter is trying to get his spot in the mixed match challenge.
Goldust potentially teaming with Asuka if you follow on social media.
Yeah. And you know, Asuka keeps letting him know that he's not ready for Asuka. So
2 weeks from tomorrow that launches, folks, and we're seeing promos. But we're not really seeing it in the programming yet with them hyping that up yet.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, if they want to do, I mean, it's a.
Do you think
at this point, I think it's one of those things that he should be an agent. I mean, there's not really anything on screen for Goldust nowadays.
You think it was a case that they just didn't have another cruiserweight in the back, so they're like, oh, screw it, let's just use Goldust.
Well, Hideo Itami, I'd imagine he was there.
Yeah, well, they didn't use him. I mean, that's who I thought was coming out. You know, it seemed like that's what they were building to. But
why not? Actually, who else could they have had for the win? So they couldn't have had Kurt Hawkins. Who else was backstage tonight? Because, you know, I have to say tonight it seemed like everyone made an appearance. With Dash and Dawson didn't. I mean,
yeah, the Revival have been working main event, so it's not looking too good for them. I'm not sure. Actually, not sure if they even worked main event tonight.
Goldust may have been the only person backstage that made sense.
No. Tony's Akira Tozawa and Tony Nese were also backstage, so they could have used them.
Tozawa.
Yeah. So we'll see if that continues. Although there's no obvious name for that pairing.
Have y'all talked about the Apollo Crews and
Titus Worldwide, baby?
Yeah. So has anybody mentioned anything about Dana Brooke looking like
Alexander York from
the York Foundation? Yeah. That's the first thing I thought about.
That's what I was thinking.
Taking notes and statistics during the match.
Yeah. They're really stretching for a role for, you know.
Hey, you know what? If Titus Worldwide gets a little push as a stable, I actually think get some of the other guys backstage that aren't being utilized, have kind of a ragtag faction, you know, would not be the worst thing that the WWE has done. I was going to say this year, but in 2018, I think
Titus, they need someone in there that is not going to just lose every week to get it some credibility. Right now, they've beaten Apollo too much. You know,
Apollo Crews.
So it's kind of DOA.
So Elias teaming with the Mr. Raj tonight to take on a reunited club. Finn Balor reteaming with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. The internet went nuts for this.
It got a pretty good pop when they showed him on screen. I wonder how many people that popped have ever watched the Bullet Club in New Japan.
Well, Access TV does show it.
They do, but the viewership for that, you're talking hundreds of thousands.
And it's on a delay because when I'm flipping channels and New Japan's on, sometimes I'll put it on there and it'll be like this was like a year ago, but they were still showing a year ago matches with AJ still, so it was on a significant delay.
Yeah, and that they're a lot closer now.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cuban's he's making a harder investment to bring those matches. I think he bought the 3 main event matches to be aired on the 6th, and just 2 days after Wrestle Kingdom. So,
yeah, this Friday, Wrestle Kingdom 12 is going to be on Access.
Yeah, yep. That's great. So it was a reunion, but it wasn't the reforming of a faction. They didn't have
Yeah, just another way for Finn to battle the Mr. Raj. Man, they have nothing for Finn.
And they should have had Goldust team up with Finn.
Yeah, might as well. Poor guy. But hey, there was on late in the show. It got a good pop. Gallows and Anderson have just been doing WWE shop promos, so yeah, I gave him something.
I don't like it though. You gotta. I'm a storyline guy. I mean,
I agree.
You got to add some layers to this thing before you just throw them together. It just, to me, it made no sense at all. I mean, of course, it's just of course, it elicited a quick pop, which it did, but at the same time, I mean, build the story. That's the reason why I liked Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. I liked the fact that they kind of stretched it out, for them to reunite, and I think it just makes perfect sense to me if they should have stretched this out. I mean,
sadly, though, I think it's just a case where WWE does not consider them to be on the level to get a real storyline. You know what I mean? Like they kind of reserve those for certain people. And and
I wish that they would have just not had them kind of cross paths yet. I mean, I think the best way to cross paths with them is that superstar shakeup. Styles or Nakamura win the title. I mean, well, either Styles will retain after Mania or Nakamura wins. I think that's when you do the shakeup. You have Finn come in and they just run roughshod, against the world champion at the time, and that's the way you bring them together. That's the shock and awe instead of just some random Raw,
But the club's been that way. They had them make their first appearance like they were the NWO coming out through the crowd. Oh my God, they're invading. They retired the Dudley Boys, and it's been a big nothing for the majority of their run in WWE. It was all hype and build up with, they're around, but they haven't really used them for anything. I mean, they've been in
the Halloween street fights where one of them gets the pumpkin on their head.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they were tag on the tag team division. They were largely filler. I mean, they never won the titles. They didn't.
Well, they won. Yeah, they.
When did they have that? When did they have them? It was short though. The Gallows and Anderson, or pardon me, Sheamus and Cesaro beat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was when that was ending. But yeah, it wasn't really a memorable run though, because they were the start of that. What we talk about these repetitive matches with the tag teams doing the interchanging of partner in the singles matches. It just felt like it got run into the ground so fast.
Yeah.
I
think with that team, there's so much. I think there's so much stock left in Anderson and Gallows, but it's just one of those things that anybody is subject to just be irrelevant if they're misused, and that's prime examples at Anderson and Gallows at this point.
Yeah, match was good, short. This one could have gone on for maybe 20 minutes. Maybe, we didn't need as long on some of those other matches.
No, this didn't need to go 20 minutes. This is another one where the result is obvious. That unless they had Elias pin Finn, but you knew that Mr. Raj was taking the fall.
Oh, the Mr. Raj.
But speaking of Elias, though, I mean, has he been pigeonholed in this kind of, because I wrote about it. Here on the site, as far as just the curse of the worker, that Ziggler was talking about on his interview with Edge and Christian. Do you think that Elias is kind of getting pigeonholed to that point at this juncture? Because he's amazing gimmick, but at the same time, his win-loss record is starting to get back to the days of NXT. And he's just not. he's not really getting a push per se. His character is just so strong that he can just be utilized however WWE sees fit. And I don't think that really helps the momentum of his character.
But I think there's kind of a low ceiling on him. He's not a musical gimmick like the Honky Tonk Man or someone that taps into a region of the country or culture. There's nothing about the music is almost an anti-gimmick in that it's meant to annoy and get heat from the crowd. I don't think he's ever going to...
that's what Honky Tonk Man was too.
No, but you know what I'm saying about Honky Tonk Man, though, people that relate to his style of music.
No, he never got any. So? He was one of the most hated heels all across the country. He didn't appeal to. He didn't get cheered.
People that liked the Honky Tonk Man, they were like,
yeah, but
I got relatives in the South.
You never see him get cheered on. When
remember that episode in Memphis? He got a bunch of pops.
But you know what I'm saying?
No, but I think
Elias has no audience identity. There's no one group of audience that identifies with him.
Yeah, I think he's getting over. I think at these live events and stuff, people are popping big for him. And I just think this gimmick could pigeonhole him after a while, but I think he's got momentum, and having him lose. Vince Russo tweeted about this a few weeks ago, where he's like, last week Elias was in this match with Roman Reigns, got over big, and then he's not even on the next week, And it's like, if you see him as something, I'm not saying, have him win the world title or anything like that, but, try to utilize that momentum and try to, work on that momentum instead of having him lose a nothing match.
Well, I think that's the perfect example with the Honky Tonk Man. I mean, he wasn't, to me, I don't ever think that the Honky Tonk Man was a world champion gimmick.
Right.
However, he was a really good mid-card gimmick, and he kept he still has the record for the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. And I think that Elias fits in that role perfectly. I think if you make him a mid-card champion, and he's already super over, you make him that mid-card star, and I think that's the perfect way to put him at right now. I don't see why not, but I think it kind of hurts him if he kind of gets that momentum yanked from him, because it seems organic, and he actually has to sing songs now that just like blatantly disrespects the city for him to get boos,
That's classic heel heat, though.
Yeah.
It's cheap heat,
and it's good though. I mean, I love the cheap heat, and the reason why I'm saying that is because if he doesn't blatantly say anything about the city will cheer him, and that's what we've been seeing. Like, he'll get cheered until he'll say something about Chicago, and then he'll just yank them, and just. He'll just deliver that line that gets the heat, which is perfect. I think it's a perfect mid-card champion gimmick right now.
I agree.
And I think they should roll with that.
Well, I'll say this. It's been over 2 years since Elias debuted in NXT. And why just last week did we get the WWE stands for Walk with Elias?
That was genius.
I loved it.
Do you guys hear Elias on Steve Austin's podcast?
No, I heard it was good, though.
So until a few weeks ago, Steve Austin thought Elias was saying, "Who wants to walk with a lion?"
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Man, it's a cool saying, but I didn't get it. Like, why a lion?" And then
he was actually thinking about considering saying that, because I wrote about it here on the site about that interview, and he was talking about I might even use it, So,
it's kind of cool when you think about it. But so until really recently, Steve Austin thought he was saying he wants to walk with a lion.
It'll be good merch.
Yeah, lion is a cool name. People don't really use that for a nickname. You had Lionheart, but
Chris Jericho,
yeah. Oh man! Final segment of the night. Paul Heyman out there doing the Paul Heyman thing, hyping up the triple threat match of the Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman, and Kane. Talk. Kane comes out, attacks. Locker room empties. Weird camera work on that. First thing you see is Kurt Hawkins on the side of the ring coming to Cade's aid. And yeah, man, like for big endings, this was not a shining example, I think, of a way to go out with the first episode of 2018.
Yeah, they're just out of ideas with what to do with Brock. It seems like. I mean, he's had some cool stuff with Samoa Joe earlier this year and Braun, but this was just the standard. We need to do something, put him on TV. Paul Heyman, you know, his promo is great, but it's not everything we've heard before. So yeah, I mean, it was just kind of by the numbers, the ending.
Yeah,
you know what I was expecting? I was expecting Kane to lay out Braun and Brock, since Brock had laid them both out last time, and then the next time Braun lays them both out, and you know everyone's all even. So I'm actually glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, I think this inning left much to be desired. I think there was a bunch of fumbles, a bunch of miscues. One thing I noticed was when Lesnar, and it's the same song and dance with Paul Heyman to me, though. You know, he's an amazing promo worker. There's no doubt on that. He's exactly what Brock Lesnar needs, but it's just it gets kind of repetitive with Heyman. You know, when he comes out, and one thing I noticed, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, is when Lesnar was about to go out the ring, he stepped back in before Kane's music
Right,
hit.
I saw that.
So like he already knew that cue was coming.
Yeah, he's like, did they forget to play his music? I'll just get back in.
Yeah, and just like you said, Glenn, the camera work on just you already had people out, and they try to really patch it up by saying, "Oh, well, Kurt Angle knew it was gonna, you know, be a lot of commotion or whatever." So
sent him out.
Yeah, he had people ready, and it just how this all, you know, kind of shaped up was just really weird.
And why would the locker room empty out for that? Why would the locker room be like, "Oh, I want to get between these two guys"?
And they hadn't gotten even that heated yet when they emptied out.
Yeah,
and the locker room doesn't have a horse in this race, you know.
Yeah.
It was, well, they said that Kurt Angle sent them out.
Yeah.
So that was the story, but they were stretching. It was Natalie's asking the last time that Brock Lesnar wrestled on Raw. He hasn't since his return after the UFC. I think he has something weird in his contract where he has so many matches per year, and they're all
only do so many F5s. You know,
well, it's weird because he'll do like a 10-minute brawl, but you know, so you're getting physical and you're taking bumps and stuff, but you won't do, you know, a 5-minute match. And all that's different is ringing a bell and having a referee in the ring. So.
And if you think about it, the locker room shouldn't actually be on either of these guys' sides. They should be pissed that a part-timer has the Universal Championship and then an old-timer gets to come back after living his life and get in the title picture. They should be on Braun's side, the entire locker room.
Right, but it was just Kurt Angle sending him out to break it up was the story, though.
That's why they have security, man. That's why they hire those local enhancement talents.
Yeah, it's the same difference.
Yeah, I know. It's just kind of storytelling is not really the strong suit of the WWE, more often than not.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunate ending. I mean, so like we said at the top of the show, I thought, oh, hey, they're going to make a statement. First Raw of the year, but just kind of an average Raw.
You know what? One thing we didn't mention that I kind of liked.
Oh, what's that?
It was the most I've been entertained by Jason Jordan promo since he's been on the main roster. Was that thing he did with Roman and Seth?
Oh yeah.
And he came out at the end. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be watching your back. Believe that." I thought he was great there.
Well, that's why everyone thought he was going to interfere in the match and cost Roman the title, but they're not pushing Jordan as a heel anymore.
Yeah.
That would have been a good way to do it.
Hey, Chris, what are your thoughts on Matt Hardy?
Man, my standard is quite high with Matt Hardy because to me, I think Broken Matt was the best thing that came out of 2016, other than Chris Jericho's list. I think the list was 2. I think Broken Matt was 1, and I just have a high expectation. And I wish that they would do more segments, like when he had, what was the horse's name? What did he name the horse? I know he had.
It was the former boxing champion, right? The kangaroo, right? He had George Foreman.
Kangaroo. What did he name?
Was it George Foreman?
Yeah, it might have been George Foreman. Yeah. So I wish that they would have more segments like that, you know, just like B-roll footage and stuff like
the
that.
wacky, unpolished
Just
stuff.
kind of raw cut type of stuff.
Go back to the compound, man. Bust the boat out.
And I think that's kind of, I think we all got engaged because of just more than his his broken kind of. No, I think.
We lost Chris, but it was Joe Frazier. Thanks, dang MQ in our chat. Thanks. All right.
Yeah, when they take chances, I think you know that's what Chris is getting at. That when Matt was taking chances, that's what people responded to, and we talk about this here. I mean, look at even tonight when they took a chance and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna send Titus Worldwide out there, Dana Brooks in there." It's at least different, and I feel like a lot of the time we will give professional wrestling the benefit of the doubt if they're giving us something different, but when they give us just more of the same and repeat and regurgitate things and run it into the ground is when people just kind of tune out mentally, if not physically.
Yeah. I just think it's overproduced right now. It doesn't feel organic. It just feels like it just feels like he's acting like that character as opposed to before it felt like he was that character. You know what I mean? So anyway.
I was just saying that I just believe that we built a relationship with not just the kind of eccentric, you know, gestures that and facials that Matt Hardy did. It was kind of the whole thing. It was all the segments, it was all the raw stuff, the organic stuff, all that compiled. We got excited about. Just, I mean, even Rebby playing the piano, King Maxwell, all of those elements is why we liked the broken Matt Hardy, and you're getting like a fraction of that with Woken. You know what I mean? So I think if we had more of that, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, Rebby or King Maxwell coming back, but at the same time, do more stuff, do more footage, more than just the Jumbotron facial, you know, promos that he does.
In a night of a ton of those look at the right at the camera promos for the Women's Rumble tonight, ran that into the ground. Jesus Christ, the Sasha Banks one, the Bayley one, the Absolution one, and they just all feel so generic. I mean, that style is the worst style of promo.
You should do the inset promos back in the day from like Superstars, right?
But when they do those now, it's so cheesy.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is, unfortunately.
The scripting is so bad on those.
Or do like the, you know, remember when the stage was like far away from the ring with like Mean Gene Oakland would interview? They're like, those are the promos that you should do again.
Yeah, I like those. Yeah.
Oh, man. So let's talk about Wrestling Inc.'s Best of 2017. Results were announced yesterday. Should we go down the list, Rush?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we'll just talk briefly about a couple of them. Breakout Star of the Year, the fans voted for Braun Strowman. Couldn't argue with that. I think that was a great choice. What do you guys think?
He's the one that comes to mind, man. I mean, we talked about this at the top of the show, but they don't do years. You know, they don't do calendar years in the WWE, but Braun Strowman got a consistent push and was used in interesting enough ways that I think his star just was on the rise.
Well, he's now a legit. He started the year as, you know, just kind of an experiment, and now he's a legit main eventer. So there's no one else you could really say that, you know, about.
Yeah, a lot of people, including myself, was very critical of when they did the split, and he kind of broke away from the Wyatt family and kind of was just by himself. We were just like, I know I've heard a lot of people criticizing, including myself, like, man, you guys are going a little bit too, you know, fast with just kind of putting him in this spot. But I think, you know, if there was one person, if there was one person that was single-handedly responsible for him being in that spot, and he'd even admit it, it'd be Roman Reigns. You know, his feud with Roman Reigns really put him in that spot. Yeah,
it was fantastic.
Feud of the year, it was Okada versus Omega. I don't agree with that at all. They had 3 great matches, but there was no real, you know, the story was not like something gripping or anything like that. They had 3 fantastic matches.
It kind of was. I think, you know, because the first 2 matches, the story was surrounded around Omega hitting the one-winged angel, and he ended up doing that. in the G1, right? And so like that was the story, but I don't think it was the feud of the year though. I think Usos and against New Day was.
I would say in the WWE actually Reigns versus Strowman, just
That's
for
what
the
I
sheer
think.
spectacle, not the storytelling so much, but the spectacle of it and the way they just pure brutality.
It had some of the most memorable moments of the year, that feud, with the being thrown off the stretcher and then being crushed in the ambulance and all this ridiculous stuff. But and it made a superstar, and it you know, so it was one of those things where Roman really helped make this guy, you know,
and it helped Roman. I think it did wonders for Roman with the fan base.
Yeah, so I agree 100%.
Tag team of the year, the Usos.
I agree with that.
Oh, hands down, absolutely.
I don't know, man. Fashion Police, strong second.
Woman of the year, Alexa Bliss. I feel like it's really this year is either Alexa or Asuka, and Alexa was on the bigger stage, so I agree with that one too.
Yeah, Alexa was great year last year.
I would actually go Asuka.
Really?
Yeah,
she was out for a large portion of the year.
She was out for like a month, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that much.
Yeah.
I mean, just the undefeated streak coming out of NXT, and you know, she's still her character hasn't been muddied, you know, by WWE on the main roster like a bunch of people.
God,
you know,
actually,
NXT.
Yeah, and that's the thing on the main roster is because Alexa's probably the only woman they didn't completely screw up last year.
But they kind of have been since Absolution's been on. She's been like
definitely
nothing. So.
But her promos, her feud with Bayley, her feud with Mickie James. I mean, Alexa's promos, the exception of Bayley, "This Is Your Life," were fantastic last year. But that's the thing; every other woman they just messed with, you know, either in the booking or the promos. It just wasn't consistent. But I thought Alexa, had a fantastic year.
Yeah. Event of the year was NXT Takeover War Games. I was surprised by that. Even though it's a good pick. I mean, that top to bottom was a great show, but
I was just about to say, Raj, what was that one pay-per-view last year that we hated the least? that we like that was the one that didn't have. I think all of them had it was so good up until the last 1 to 4 matches.
I feel like that's been happening a lot lately here. You know, like Clash of Champions was kind of like that too, where it opened strong and then it was weak by the end. You know, like for me, an event, it's got to have that electricity. It's got to have that vibe, the crowd going crazy. All that stuff really makes it. I thought War Games was one of those for sure.
It was good. It was 2 hours, man, or 2.5 hours. Like, you can't undervalue that. Can you imagine some of those main roster pay-per-views within 2.5 hours would have been A+.
Yeah.
I go WrestleMania 33.
Yeah, I mean, WrestleMania is always kind of an easy one, but there is just something with WrestleMania, just the spectacle by itself, and you had that roller coaster stage and that gigantic ramp.
It was good this year,
and it had good matches. It had a few good matches.
I think the Hardys. Return. I think Goldberg and Lesnar was perfect. I think it was written amazingly, and I think that the Undertaker send off. I think those 3 elements alone is kind of what raises that event higher than any other.
I'll throw AJ and Shane on there too.
That was good too. Yeah.
I mean, I overall I'd probably have to say WrestleMania 33 as well.
Although in the chat, people are saying Black Bolt saying Great Balls of Fire, and looking back at this, I'm like, oh yeah, Great Balls of Fire was really good, but I think that was one.
Yep.
That was one that was the opposite that got better as it went on throughout the night.
Yeah.
It won't be on this year's lineup though.
Yeah. So match of the year, they got Omega versus Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything compared.
No. Again, I think the problem I have with the New Japan crowds, just because they're not, you know, I guess just growing up watching American wrestling, I like the crazy crowds going nuts in a match, and they were for a Japanese crowd, but that was still really quiet, just kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like
so
oohs
like
and ahs. Ooh, ah,
right. So like a repeat value, it's like, and that's what these match of the years. It's always so subjective because Rock versus Hogan was awesome, right? But the match from athletically was nothing,
Yeah.
And so I mean, as a work match, it was great. But I'm going with AJ and Cena at the Rumble earlier this year because I thought the crowd was just electric. They were just going crazy for all the near falls at the end. I thought it was awesome.
The stakes were high too, and that's always a good factor when it comes to matches when the stakes are high.
Yeah,
it was built around Cena tying the record too.
Yeah,
that was a really good match.
So Chris, you went with Omega and Okada.
Yeah, I think that match was phenomenal.
I would go with the Rumble match, Cena and Styles.
Yeah. And then finally, Wrestler of the Year. The fans voted for AJ Styles. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I voted for AJ 2016 for sure. I thought this was one of those years where there wasn't a clear-cut Wrestler of the Year. It was just kind of, everything was just kind of, there wasn't a big difference maker. Real quick with Feud of the Year, if Jericho and Kenny Omega had a match in that calendar year, I think that would have taken it because I think that they had the best feud I've seen in pro wrestling in a long time.
Yeah, the build-up's great.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. But the fact that they hadn't had a match yet, so
I think there's a clear
Kingdom 12 was 5 days earlier. What's that?
Yeah, I think there's a clear-cut Wrestler of the Year personally.
Who's that?
I would give it to Kazuchika Okada.
Okay, so so here's the thing with Wrestler of the Year, right? If you're going just based on the match quality and in-ring performance, but I don't know, like when I think of Wrestler of the Year, I think of kind of the whole package of like making a difference, making a difference for the company, creating that electricity, and I just don't get that with Okada. Like I feel like Naito gets more of that interest than Okada does. I mean, Okada is their guy, but
I think the whole. I think because of LIJ, I think that's the biggest thing. If Naito wasn't a part, if he wasn't the leader of LIJ, it's there. Any type of faction that's just coming. We see with Bullet Club, we saw with NWO, we see with LIJ. Anything that's kind of factiony, I think it kind of helps just your fan base, and a lot of times, especially if it's good, if it's exciting. With Okada, it's just that he rose. I mean, the matches that he was in, even with Bad Luck Fale, the matches with Minoru Suzuki, with Cody, of course, the trilogy with Omega. I mean, just throughout the entire year, Naito. I just think with the entire year, he just did an amazing job elevating stars, and he's still crazy over in New Japan with the Rainmaker gimmick.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, I put him over AJ. AJ, he started and ended the year as WWE champion, but kind of in the middle of that, between him losing it and then winning it back, we didn't really have that.
That's
much.
why this calendar year thing really is very flawed for wrestling.
Yeah,
I mean, it really is. Like, and Rolling Stone giving the Miz,
that's ridiculous.
Like, I would say for 2016,
no way.
I think it was the best.
He hasn't headlined a pay-per-view.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know that headlining a pay-per-view, I think, is different. That's more about mainstream. I don't know. I feel like sometimes for the fans that watch week in and week out, we have a different criteria because we're tuning in no matter what.
And that's why Brock Lesnar wouldn't win, but Brock, he was a difference maker. Like ratings were going down, and then when he came in, had that feud with Samoa Joe, but things turned back up.
He doesn't have to work for it. Brock can just show up. Yeah,
but he earned that spot. I mean, he's a superstar. He got there. Undertaker works less than him.
Yeah. I like that though. I like that with the world champion.
I do
not
too.
being there every week. I like it because Hogan used to do it all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
and he had that longevity because of that.
Exactly.
Because he's not
And
on every single week.
How come no one's casting Brock in movies? Do a remake of No Holds Barred.
Oh, he's been offered. He turned them all down.
Yeah,
he's been offered stuff in the past.
Wait,
He
it's
has
too
no
much
desire
work.
to do it.
He can make more money just, wrestling 12 events a year for the WWE.
Hey, I think it's way more effective that way. I think if Brock was on every week, it would just kind of kill his thing. It would just kind of, he's just another guy.
I have to say it's not on the list, but I have to say segment of the year, at least for the WWE. I got to go Festival of Friendship.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I agree 100%.
That was WWE storytelling at its finest. And of course, that guy they fired who wrote that.
Yeah. Unless, well, you know what? Again, Jericho and Omega, the one that he did when he surprised him and attacked him from behind.
That was good.
Yeah, I think Jericho.
That was the World Tag League, wasn't it?
What's that?
That was the World Tag League, wasn't it? When he made the appearance.
Yeah. I think Jericho. He was the most interesting wrestler of the year. I think with what he's done, but it's kind of top heavy from October to December, and then the Festival of Friendship stuff. But
so he's like the MVP of 2017.
Yeah, I can say I'd say that.
Yeah.
Cool, man. We should probably wrap things up. So we'll be back Wednesday to talk about SmackDown Live. First SmackDown Live of 2018. Oh my God, Sami Zayn versus AJ Styles tomorrow night.
Yeah.
How's that going to go? What weird stipulation will they add to try and bar Kevin Owens from ringside?
Yeah. Do they have Sami beat AJ like they had Owens beat AJ last week and just keep that going? And
tomorrow is Rusev Day, so
it's Rusev Day every day.
We'll get that.
Every day is Rusev Day.
When I saw this morning, those shirts weren't back in stock at WWEshop.com. That's changed. So fans might have to wait a little longer.
Yeah, cool. Well, so Chris, where can people find your stuff on the interwebs?
You can follow me at Chris Prolific and the Pancakes and Power Slam show at Crave Wrestling. Episode 301 airs tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Well, tonight actually, it's after 12.
And Chris will be joining us again this Wednesday.
Awesome.
Indeed.
Cool, guys. So stay tuned to the site. Raj, you got big stories coming up. The year is off and running.
We've got interviews, the final part with Al Snow, stuff with Kevin Kelly, Jimmy Jacobs, and I'm working on something big. I'm working on it, so we'll see. We'll see if it happens.
Stay tuned to Wrestling Inc., folks. I'm Glenn Rubenstein. We'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.